Okay, so if you've been following this advice, okay, because it's out there and it's pushed pretty hard, then your ability to be able to focus, to be able to make good decisions, and just to be a healthier person is under attack. So basically, there's a bunch of successful people, okay, entrepreneurs. I'm not going to name names, but basically, there's a bunch of figures online who, when you go around and like you watch their interviews about how they got to where they got to, they all have, not all of them, but a lot of them have this advice of like working 14 hours a day, working 16 hours a day, just going hard all the time. It's not time to relax. You need to hustle. You need to, you need to work really, really hard and work really long hours. And the problem with this is not that you shouldn't work hard, but they are promoting this sort of lifestyle of kind of pushing this whole thing of like put your health to the side and just focus on the work. And this is a problem because if you just focus on hustling and working 14 hours a day and just thinking about work and neglecting your health, right? It's going to become a huge problem. And what they say is, when I first got started or when I was building my business, I didn't have time to sleep. I didn't take the time to sleep. And I just kept pushing through. I'd go to my 9 to 5, I'd come home, I'd work for, 4 or 5 hours into the night, into 2 a.m. Then I'd wake up the next morning and I just kept doing that over and over and over again. The problem with this advice is that sleep is extremely important because if you aren't getting enough sleep, okay, your body isn't able to make good decisions and to focus and actually do deep work. You can't wake up day after day after day after day of getting 4 hours of sleep and just be able to continue to do deep work. I mean, there might be like these people who are promoting this might be the 1% of the 1%. Okay. Like the small fraction of the population who has like this weird fucking gene that allows them to basically just never sleep. But if you're watching this video, then it's probably not you. And it sure as hell wasn't for me. And what this causes for most people is if you do this kind of thing where you're just constantly neglecting your health and you're pushing to try to get more work done, is your health starts to deteriorate over time. You start dealing with lower energy, more depression. You aren't able to actually take the time and focus in on deep, meaningful work and actually get it done within a decent amount of time. So you end up spending, 4 to 6 hours on stuff that could have taken you an hour if you actually had gotten the proper rest that you needed. Along with this can also come the problem if you're dealing with this is on the inability or being unable to resist high dopamine activities. So if you're constantly going to the computer and your phone to watch social media on like a constant basis and needing that dopamine, if you're constantly watching TV or you can't stop like drinking or doing substances, a lot of times it's because you're following this advice of the hustle culture where you constantly need to be pushing it and there's no time for relaxing and there's no time for sleep. Like fuck sleep, we're young, we can just push through this, and you're not taking care of your health in your mind. And so health is kind of like the base of everything. If you want to be successful, your body and your mind have to actually be healthy. And for most people, you're not going to be able to do that on 4 hours of sleep after going to a 9 to 5 that you don't like. It's just not practical. And so this is the exact position that I got stuck in trying to follow their advice because I saw that they were successful and I thought, well, if that's what they're saying makes sense, then that's what I should do, right? I should just forget about sleep, like forget about health, just go all in on working on my business for 7 hours when I get home or whatever, right? And originally when I did this and I started doing it, I thought, okay, yeah, this is great. This is cool. Like I'd come home after the job I was working at the time and I would be just working, put in 5 hours. It'd be like 2 in the morning, 12 o'clock. And then I'd wake up maybe 5 hours later and just try to get up and go to my job, fucking groggy as hell. And at first, it seemed like it was going good and that I was actually making progress and that their advice was actually working. But over the weeks that followed and into even the months, I realized that I was becoming more depressed, more tired. I was losing motivation. And when I would actually go to work, I noticed that I was constantly being distracted by these other high dopamine things. Like, for example, I would just be like going on, like trying to, figure out some like product or whatever. And I would get distracted by like YouTube or like a fucking ad. And like my brain literally could not like resist. And so I would end up spending 4 to 6 hours, but most of that time was just being distracted doing other things instead of one really solid productive hour of work. So this is a really dangerous thing, is to be following this advice, because I don't think that for most people it works. And if you're like me, it definitely doesn't work. Like I need to have a decent amount of sleep. I need to have the right amount of sleep in order to be able to function properly and have high enough energy. I can't just run off of 4 hours of sleep. And the other problem is they have this whole ethos of doing more is more. So it's almost like a badge of honor that you work 16 hours one day and burnt out. But that's not sustainable and that's not really healthy. So I think we have to be careful with this ideology of just pushing everything to the max and neglecting your mental and physical health. So the way that I fixed this was, it did take some time, but essentially what I did was, instead of taking the advice of just go to your job, come home. And, this is obviously for people like beginners who are trying to just kind of like break away from the traditional 9 to 5. Instead of going down that route of just trying to do 4 hours extra every night, what I ended up doing was scaling that back. So instead, I would just come home and do just one solid hour of work. And then those extra hours that I had, that I wasn't like working, quote unquote, working, being distracted by shit, I got sleep. I got more sleep. And then I realized over time, holy shit, by getting more sleep, I'm actually able to pack in just as much work in that 1 hour as I was doing in those 4 to 6 hours. It's crazy. And I was able to do that because when you actually sleep properly and you're getting good sleep, your brain and your whole body is repairing, right? And it's healing and it's clearing out, all the different chemicals and things within your brain. Okay. And it's allowing you to basically wake up with more clarity and the ability to focus and make good decisions instead of running around like a freaking chicken with your head cut off, getting distracted by fucking, some TikTok or YouTube short. So that was one of the things I did. And what I did was I tried to, for 7 days out of the week, I would go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. Okay. So this kind of sets your circadian rhythm so that every day your body knows what to expect, and it can actually produce the chemicals needed to help you to fall asleep and repair your body and wake up at the right times. Now, obviously, I'm still struggling with actually implementing this every single day. Like going to bed and waking up at the same exact time is no easy thing to do. But if you can implement this where you're kind of going to bed roughly the same time, waking up at roughly the same time, and you're getting enough sleep, which for every person is going to be different. For you, it might be 7.5, it might be 8, it might be 9 hours, whatever it is, it's fine, because you need that in order to be a productive human being. Most people just can't run on such a low amount of sleep and constantly be hustling. It makes no sense. The other thing is that when you're trying to do 14 hours of work, okay, for most people, you're not actually doing work. You're just being distracted. So if you condense the amount of time that you allow yourself to work on a specific project, right? You only have X amount of time. And so you're really squeezing as much productivity as you can into that small time frame, instead of letting it drag out for 8 hours. If you know you have 8 hours to get something done, well, then you're going to stretch out what you need to get done over 8 hours, versus if you only have 1 hour, then you're just going to really pack it in. So for me and for you watching this video, I think it's so much better to actually get proper sleep and to not overwork yourself, and to actually take care of your mental and physical health and condense the amount of work you do into more focused, deep work sessions, instead of trying to spread it out across 14 freaking hour days like all these people are saying they're doing. And so for me, I noticed the benefits were I had like much higher energy. I just felt more optimistic about my life in general. I had the ability to have like clarity of the mind and being able to think about what I wanted out of life, in terms of like, say, like if you wanted to start a business or a career or just whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, like around my goals. Like I had clarity around my goals. The other thing that really helped was by sleeping and actually getting that deep sleep, right? That quality sleep for an extended amount of time. I was able to do much better with resisting and resetting my dopamine levels, so that I wasn't constantly chasing the next dopamine high, running off and watching television, getting distracted by like an ad or something on my computer. I was able to be so much more focused and have a really like directed mind. So I think that this would be really beneficial for you if you weren't aware that this was happening and that you were doing this. Just take it into consideration because our culture right now is so much about making money and kind of like hustling and like, oh, dude, I work so many hours every day. I'm making so much money, which isn't bad. I'm not saying that making money is bad or anything like that, but you have to take care of your health because it's the foundation of everything. And if you don't take care of the foundation, anything you build on top of that is just going to crumble. So just see if you can implement even a few of these things in your life. See if you notice a difference. And if you're interested in more of this type of content, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.